Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining StreetCones. Once again, my name is Adam Robertson, and I'm one of the StreetCones facilitators. One of the facilitators had the privilege of working with this particular group on our Road to Change workshops. Along with my fellow facilitators, we spent 12 weeks with the participants who were referred by Glasgow Unpaid Work. So for those of you who don't know us, StreetCones are a charity who use the arts and creativity to affect positive change for the individuals and groups we work with. And the idea behind Road to Change is that we give participants an opportunity to do some fairly deep self-awareness work and exploration, tapping into their creativity in a safe and non-triggering space. Often our participants start off considering themselves not to be creative, but we know from experience that that's simply not true. We are all creative. This group, like all of our Road to Change groups, started week one with a blank page. Supported by StreetCones, they started to build fictional characters and story worlds while exploring various themes that grew organically from the sessions. Now, with this group, the themes included positive outcomes and mentoring. Our workshops operate under a range of safeguarding guidelines, one of which we refer to as the privileged environment. This basically means that participants use only their first names. We don't explore any personal details. So when they're creating the characters, they don't reveal the difference between what they are making up and what is real. And in a moment, you'll be shown a short film, which will showcase the end of a module performance by the group and some of the discussion that followed. After that, I'm going to introduce you to our panelists. You'll get a chance to submit your comments, any questions. And you can start submitting them now in the comment sections on YouTube or Facebook, on Twitter, using @StreetCones, or if you want, you can even email them direct to my colleague who's working away in the background, Mark McNichol, on mark@streetcones.org. So that's your opportunity to get in touch with us. YouTube comments, Facebook, Twitter @StreetCones, or mark@streetcones.org. So, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the Glasgow Unpaid Work Module 2 Road to Change film.
Itself is very much part of what we're trying to do within justice services. You know, I've said this before, unpaid work isn't really just about people getting through their hours. That is obviously a big part of it, but we're keen to provide people with opportunities to develop skills, to develop qualities and strengths that they maybe didn't know that they had until now. And hopefully the participants who went through this programme will leave from today knowing that they've got huge potential and they've got those skills that they can build on and develop from today. And it's just about trying to tap into some of that move.
Have you told anyone else about your situation?
Gary looks at the ground, shakes his head.
When was the last time you ate?
My pal brought me some food this morning.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We'll go to the cafeteria and we'll get you some food. After that, we'll go and see Mrs. Kennedy, tell her what's been going on. We'll get you some clean clothes and you can use the showers in the PE department. We'll get you a toothbrush and some toothpaste. How does that sound?
Gary looks to the ground, fighting the lump in his throat. Cameron gets up and waits for Gary to join him.
So you're one of these soft teachers then, sir?
Cameron turns to Gary and smiles.
Was definitely not. I also the wanker of a dad. Don't tell anyone I said that.
Gary nods in understanding. After a few seconds, a smile appears in Gary's face and a little of the weight of the world is lifted from his shoulders.
You don't know what's happened in somebody's life, you know, so and thank God for the significant person in somebody's life. You know, it doesn't have. We know about, you know, like and a lot of the women that we work with, how they've had very abusive childhoods. But if there's that one significant person, you know, that could make all the difference.
It was all blown out of proportion. We had a scuffle. We had a few drinks and he and I got into an argument. A stupid fight that happens between siblings.
Which resulted in you throwing him through a glass window of a patio door, causing him to require medical treatment, 18 stitches in the forearm.
He stumbled. I pushed. I didn't throw him.
Then you fled the scene and drove your car whilst under influence.
Powell closes his eyes as the images of him getting in the car that day play out in his mind.
Fortunately, the police saw you driving erratically and pulled you over before you were able to cause any more damage.
I wasn't thinking straight.
So you received a 6 months custodial sentence and were ordered to pay £1,200 in damages for the broken window.
Mental how it takes something like that. It's almost as if it takes something bad for you to get something good from it, know what I mean? It's like the yin and the yang effect, no? It's crazy to think like that, no? But that's almost what it seems like.
Liam, Ben, Joe, etc. is that we, as unpaid work placement providers, as Stephen says, we're always looking for different opportunities, different to just going out and painting a fence and going out and cleaning up, just something kind of bespoke to individuals. So while we're always trying to do that, trying to kind of drum up appetite and enthusiasm to kind of go into these things does prove challenging at times.
The wealth of experience that everybody's got, each and every one of us are so different, and so many experiences have actually brought us here today that we can then put into just talking about myself or writing, putting work towards future scripts, you know, and we can all draw from our life experience. It doesn't matter what brought us here, all that matters is that we're actually here, you know, and we're all working together, because I thought that was great work, guys, that you all did, you know. It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, for people that haven't been involved in the arts or drama and coming out with broken windows, it was just, I just was totally amazed by it. I thought it was just brilliant. I loved it.
Then leans forward.
You don't remember me, do you?
Sorry?
Try and picture me 20 years younger.
Why?
Do it. Might come back to you.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ironically, it was you that told me this is where I'd end up.
Flashback. Cut to 20 years ago, Mr. Powell's office. From the earlier scene where Mr. Powell was reprimanding Gary for the broken science block windows.
There's only one place you're going to end up, McDonald, and that's prison. Look at it this way. I did you a favour. You saw the error of your ways, and you've done all right by yourself.
Gary can't believe the gall of this man, but he does his best to keep things professional.
You did me a favour.
Have you been in trouble since?
You could have ruined my life for something that I didn't do. Luckily for you, luckily for me, I took what you said on board.
What did I say?
There's only one place you're going, McDonald, and it's prison.
Powell looks over to the window. Maybe he does regret some of his particular brand of discipline.
And you were right. Only I work in the prison. I'm not a prisoner, whereas you, on the other hand.
This hits hard. Powell's trigger response is to retaliate and defend himself. The irony of this situation and the passage of time that has led to Gary being the counsellor and Mr. Powell the prisoner is not lost on either of them. Powell looks out of the window for a moment.
You caused a lot of damage back then.
I caused a lot of damage.
You boys were always up to no good. You were trouble. But you seem to have done all right for yourself now.
You want to know what happened to me because of that? I ended up getting sent to a children's panel, which resulted in me getting sent to home. I took a lot of beatings from my dad, but that's the one I remember most, for bringing shame on the family. Yet the only thing I did wrong was not grass.
I suppose there was lots going on just in terms of that whole story about identity and being true to yourself, but one of the big takeaways for me was just Gary's story, and you know, despite all the adversity he was facing, you know, having one person, whether it was that kind of kind teacher that took him aside, or the counsellor that was willing to support him, and just the positive impact that one person can have on someone's life and their journey, and then him taking that on and playing that role with his old teacher, I thought that was a really nice thread that kind of ran through it.
I came into this never doing anything like that before in my life. I'm like a window cleaner 24/7, so this is something completely just out my comfort zone. The first couple of times I thought, right, I wasn't going to be able to improv or nothing. I could basically have a conversation with myself if I really wanted to. I'll not answer myself back because I'll get a wee self-cuddle me, Jake. So, but I thought honestly, I recommend it to anybody. So,
Good.
Aye, brilliant.
Richard looks for a brief moment like he might be able to take this on board, but then...
Look at it this way. I did you a favour. You saw the error of your ways, and you've done all right by yourself.
Gary can't believe the gall of this man, but he does his best to keep things professional.
You did me a favour.
Have you been in trouble since?
You could have ruined my life for something that I didn't do.
Challenge, you know, I felt it was a real challenge, and it was something different. It was out with the norm. You know, I like to try different things and all that, but I've never once thought about doing any sort of creative writing or acting or anything like that, you know. And I feel that the collaboration as well, sorry, that was a big wasp. I feel that the collaboration that everybody put in, the way that our minds worked together and the way the script formed, it was really good. You know, that the creativeness between it, it's something that I have never experienced before, no. I'm 38 years of age, mate, no, I've got kids and everything. And it was just totally something new to me. It blew my mind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe there's still hope, eh? Maybe it's not too late to be free of him, to be me, to live my life instead of some twisted, grotesque version of what my dad wanted me to be, but never got.
He looks at Gary, looks him in the eye.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being such a terrible teacher, headmaster to you, to all my pupils. It's too late to right all the wrongs, but maybe I can start again.
Gary's still watchful, as if observing a birth. Watches something new coming to life in Richard.
Where would you start?
Obviously through lockdown everyone's feeling quite shite, but like going through doing this process, I've felt very good about myself after it. So after every session I felt pretty good about myself.
The guys, I mean, I've never known anything like it. I've been in this job for a number of years and I've never known anything quite like it, and I've been totally blown away just by the feedback for the guys. And I always say to them, get a go. If you don't like it, just come back and tell me you don't like it. And nobody's done that. And then nobody, and you know, generally in unpaid work, the biggest question is, how many hours have I done? How many hours have I got left? They never ask. They just keep going. And I think some of them are probably beyond their hours and have still not come back to me to say, right, what am I at now? And there's guys in there in that performance who far exceeded their hours, but they just want to keep going to the end. It's been phenomenal for them. I can't praise it enough, and very well done.
It's a good wee programme for everybody. I've enjoyed it, and I've only joined it like 2 or 3 times, and I thought it's some hoot, and I've met a couple of guys in it. They're quite funny and they're dead nice. But no, I think it's really good for people like in a community paper order, just giving them the chance to work with people, and I think it's a really, really good thing. So it's been brilliant for me anyway. So
I'd say I'd go on and do more stuff like that, so I would. If there was like small courses in acting and stuff, I'd go on and do them.
Well done, mate.
Because it is a laugh, so it is.
I think everybody can say they can take a wee bit of something from it, you know. It's been really enjoyable on everybody's part. So I'd like to thank the facilitators for putting up with us, and StreetCones for the work that they're doing that, and even the social work department as well. Never thought I'd hear myself say that right enough, but I'd thank them too.
So there you go. That was our film from Glasgow Unpaid Work, A Road to Change, the kind of second module, or is it our third module now with Glasgow? So we are now going to introduce our panel. So remember to submit any comments, any questions you've got. Some are already coming in via Twitter and Facebook. So Twitter at StreetCones, via the Facebook page, comments under the YouTube video you can post there, or email them direct to mark@streetcones.org. Now, the questions might be about the theme positive outcomes and mentoring. They might be about community sentences. They might be about the kind of work that StreetCones do. Whatever it is, fire them into us and we'll do our best to answer them. So I'm going to introduce the panel. So first we've got Stephen McVey, who is the Glasgow North East Justice Service Manager. Hi, Stephen. We have Lorraine McIntosh, who's our Recovery Coordinator. Hi, Lorraine. We have John Dobbin, who's our Custody Peer Mentor. Hi, John. And last but not least, Liam, who is one of the workshop participants and one of the stars of Broken Windows, which is ironic because he's also a window cleaner. So I don't know how that works.
Plenty of insurance claims anyway.
So listen, we have some questions coming in, but first, I'd just love to give Stephen a chance to speak. So Stephen, would you like to come in and say a few words on behalf of Glasgow Justice?
Yeah, thanks very much, Adam. I suppose first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Adam and Mark at StreetCones for all their continued hard work in supporting justice services in Glasgow in terms of the group work programme that they've put together for us. Also a big thank you to the participants that were on Module 2, and you saw some of the performers there in that short film for all the hard work that they did through the module and contributed to the story and the performance at the end. And I think just lastly, just a huge thank you to Lorraine and John from the Positive Outcome Project, and to Liam, as you say, the star of the show, for coming along today and agreeing to be part of the panel discussion today. I mean, I suppose to give people a bit of background for those that don't know anything about this service, these discussions started about a year ago, I think, when myself and Adam and Mark met up to look at how we might move their face-to-face group work programmes to an online setting using Teams, and really target it at some of our unpaid work clients in terms of trying to offer them another activity option. And soon after that, towards the end of 2020, I think we had the first module started. And as you said, Adam, I think we're now on module 3, which should be coming to a close quite soon. And I'm constantly impressed by the quality of the work that's done within these programs. You know, both in terms of the scripts that are developed, how they're performed at the end of the module, and just some of the themes that are brought out, and people, as you said, Adam, at the beginning, bringing in their own experiences and using that to really shape the stories and the content. Not only that, but just the outcomes for participants as well. And a lot of that's down to the hard work of the StreetCones staff who facilitate these groups. You know, you've heard some of the comments on the film there about people's experiences on these programmes. And as Joe at the end there said, you know, even thanking social work for all that they've done, which is very unusual. And as Margaret mentioned as well, you know, we've constantly got people asking to go on these group work programmes that have completed their hours or don't even have unpaid work to do, but they've heard about how positive they are and the kind of outcomes that they get. So it's been a really positive kind of journey for us. And it really fits with the ethos of unpaid work, which is really, as I said in the film, not just about doing your hours, but trying to give people opportunities to build their interpersonal skills, develop their self-esteem and self-confidence, and really build on the strengths that they maybe didn't know that they had. So the theme for that module there was around mentoring. The first module that we did was around about suicide and self-harm, and we had another live stream like this. But today, as I said in the film, that one of the kind of key themes about the story that was written, I think, was around about that one positive person in your life and the difference that could make. And that's why we've got Lorraine and John along today, just to kind of talk about their experiences and working in the Positive Outcomes Project. And obviously Liam can talk to his experiences of being on the group himself. So as I said, really pleased to have everyone along today and looking forward to the discussion that's going to take place. Excellent,
thank you, Stephen. Well, we can crack straight into the question and answer. So we've got a question here from Brian Devlin on Twitter, and I suppose we should go straight to Liam for this one. It's a question for the participants. For people not interested in pursuing a career in the arts, in what way does this type of work add value to your life? So Liam, like, you've done 2 modules now. So what's your, what would your answer be to someone who said to Brian, who says, what's the?
Well, if you're not really kind of like pursuing that line of work, and you just want to kind of get a go, then it depends on yourself, or how much you actually want to put into it. Like, I go into it with 100% every time I appear on any wire room. It runs twice a week, so it's Tuesday, Thursday, and if you turn up, it's entirely up to yourself. You can put as much effort into it as you like, but it's strongly recommended, honestly. It's a great place to be, man. It's all the stories and stuff that you can actually create. It's stuff that is in your brain that you'd never actually knew you had there. And you come up with some answers half the time that you genuinely didn't know you had the answer to.
I mean, I think that's it, isn't it? It's not, StreetCones, with all the work that StreetCones do, just to add to your answer, Liam, for Brian's benefit, like all of the work we do, the work we've done in prisons and with young offenders, and other marginalised groups, all of that work is not about encouraging people to pursue a career in the arts at all. However, if we discover people who are interested, we'll certainly help them along the way, but that's not our goal. We're not trying to enroll people in the arts. We're just trying to use the arts as a vehicle for change. And as Liam's expressed there, and some of the other people that Joe expressed, these are people who would never normally enter a creative space, but for those who do, they get benefit from it. Like I said in the intro, we believe everyone's creative. In fact, Picasso was famous for saying that every child is an artist. The problem is remaining an artist when we grow up. So it's all there, it's all in us. And this work just brings it out of us. So there's a question here from Janice Cook on YouTube. Powerful film, really made me think about people in my life who have been mentors and how I can possibly mentor others. How did the theme come about, and where did the name Broken Windows come? Well, I'm going to just hand this question over to, we'll split it. I'll answer the bit about where did the theme come from. But Lorraine, maybe you can talk a little bit about mentoring and how you found mentoring in your life, and talk about some of the benefits that have come from mentoring.
Yeah, that's fine.
So tell me, what's your experience? And in fact,
so
you can
my
even just
experience
introduce yourself as a.
Sorry, I'm Lorraine McIntosh, the recovery coordinator at the Positive Outcomes Project in Norfolk Street. Mentoring for me, my kind of journey, I came into recovery from offending. Started at Tomorrow's Women Glasgow, where it was a person-centred approach, and just what you were kind of talking about, people believed in me. They came and seen me when I was in hospital beds, really, really ill and not well. I got a lot of trauma work done at that project. I worked with prison officers who had locked me up in the past, and then I started working with them and stuff like that. And through that, I realised that the prison officers were actually normal people. The lady prison officer I worked with would go and get her nails done, her eyebrows done and all that, whereas in prison, I only seen her wear this uniform. And it was like, sorry for my language, but she was a screw. Don't talk to her. Do you know what I mean? Anti-authority in me. And through going there, it was breaking barriers. They took time with me. There was no period of time they could work with me, because my experience was in the past going to services, and after 6 weeks, it was like, she's a lost cause. She can go elsewhere. They persevered with me. I ended up there for 2 years. And through being there 2 years, I ended up graduating there. And through Anne Gallagher and a man called Jim McBride, they'd asked me to come back as a peer mentor at the service. At this point, I'm growing in confidence, I'm growing in self-esteem. I went from service user to service provider. I remember going to that office and knocking the door, and they're like, you're actually a staff member, you can come in. But it was so strange for me back then at that time, and bulk cracking relationships with that. Got lots of training opportunities and stuff with them. I was sitting in offices with judges, I was sitting with social workers getting this training, do you know what I mean? When I was just an ex-offender, it was so surreal for me. And then through Down Tomorrow's Women and stuff like that, I got involved with other services in the recovery communities in Glasgow and stuff like that. And I was asked by Jim to go along to the Positive Outcomes project. And basically I was asked to smash barriers between Police Scotland, social work and people, service users that we were working with. Because I could build a relationship really, really fast with individuals, because it was, I'm the same as them, I'm no different. You know, and through doing that, through the volunteering and stuff like that, a job come up and I was asked to go and do that job. And while I was doing all that stuff, I was doing SVQs, 3s and 4s and all that kind of stuff. And while I'm doing that, I'm growing in confidence, I'm growing in self-esteem. And then I think I can take on the world.
Yeah, it's just important. I mean, you've now been able to see the value of mentoring, though, haven't you?
Oh, it's amazing. If it wasn't for people taking a chance and believing in me when I didn't believe in myself, I wouldn't be where I am today. It was through them people persevering with me, believing in me, until I had that bit of belief in myself that I could actually change. And
John Dobbin, do you, as a peer mentor as well, do you want to speak a little bit about the role of mentoring in your life?
Well, I think one of the biggest things with mentoring people is having that initially trust. Because from my own experience and people I'm working with, they're coming out of an environment where, you know, maybe been in the criminal justice system for half of their life, and you know, trust is something that's just not there. So I've always found, you know, getting that kind of initial alliance with somebody. And back to the film, and was it Gary, the character Gary, where he was, you know, just asking him about basic needs and some food, and that's a wee door in. You know, it's about trying to just keep that balance, no overpowering people, you know, and just bringing them along, and then finding the good points in them, you know, and then you can get to a stage where you can talk about, you know, the bigger issues, you know.
Yeah. That is the way in, and that was Gary's story. Just in case, because there was a lot going on in that short film between the narrative and the talking heads in it. But yeah, Broken Windows, the story, to help answer the rest of Janice's question about the theme, where did it come from, came about through, you know, you've got positive mentors and negative mentors, and sometimes those roles switch throughout life. So Gary's story as a young man was that you had one teacher who was a bully, who really was not a positive influence at all. And then you had Mr. Cameron, who was a really positive, who was a mentor, and it was Mr. Cameron who was saying, look, have you eaten? Where are you living? What's life like at home? And Mr. Cameron became the mentor and became the person that inspired Gary to eventually become a counsellor himself. And the irony of this fictional story is that Gary ends up being the counsellor, and Mr. Powell ends up in his office for a misdemeanor. And so the tables are turned, and Gary ends up being a mentor to his former bully, if you like. But that theme came out of, to answer Janice's questions, discussion and chat and creative work and play with the participants. So we do improvisations. We start with a blank page, and we see what bubbles to the surface through a mixture of different games and creative play. We, you know, provoke and stimulate people's lived experience, and we use what we call the protection of fiction. So all of our lived experience is there, but we protect ourselves from, you know, exposing that by giving these characters names. And so that's where the theme comes about. I've got a question here from Jackie Simpson on YouTube. Looks like a really clever, funny, thought-provoking script. This is for Liam again. All the participants should be really proud of what they've achieved. My question, what did Liam enjoy most about the workshops?
Oh, Well, I'm just kind of
my quizzes and my jokes. That's what you love most. That was the answer, Liam.
That's having to put up with you, Adam. That's that comes in the fine print. No, it's a completely different environment altogether. It's something that I wouldn't associate myself with through picking, actually doing it. But then after the first 2 or 3 visits, it was like, well, this is actually like a good environment to be in. There's like so much creative space there, and it just brings me to the surface a wee bit more, so I can be a bit myself on camera to everybody else instead of, you know, taking the backside. So,
but you were talking the other day, because we've now on the 3rd module, and for you, your 2nd module.
I'm still here, right?
You're still here. We've got new participants coming in, and you're able to kind of, you've basically become a bit of a mentor within the workshop, because you were trying to mentor this other lad who was obviously a bit apprehensive, which is exactly where you were back at the start. So you've ended up taking on the role of mentor through this, through this workshop, because that, if you don't mind me speaking about you, Liam, you know, you started apprehensive, fairly disengaged, and then now you're reading all the scripts, you're throwing yourself into improvisation exercises, you've got great ideas. So it's been a journey for you, this whole project, and I think for Joe as well, who spoke in the film.
It was like right at the start as well. Obviously, I suffer from dyslexia, and like trying to read things is like a bit of a challenge for me. So, like most of the time, I'd be like, just making up excuses, like, I've not got my glasses or stuff, and then eventually I started to root my share a bit, and then letting everybody know that bit of trust there, saying, look, I can't read much. Like, it's a bit of a challenge for me, and then eventually, there we go, I'm reading a full script.
Yeah, and doing it, and as somebody who's worked with professional actors, you did a damn good job of it. Right, I've got a question here from Natalie Hume on YouTube, and I think we'll fire this one over to you, Lorraine, and then John, you can come in and answer it as well, but we'll start with Lorraine. Can you talk a little bit about the Positive Outcome Project, what it is, how long it's been running, and who's it for?
Yeah, so the Positive Outcomes Project is based in Norfolk Street. It's actually up the stairs from the DTO in Norfolk Street. It's led by Police Scotland, but also Health and Social Care. Within the team, we have 3 police officers, and also 3 addiction workers, and myself, the recovery coordinator. The addiction workers have a caseload of 15 individuals each. The reason they've got 15 each is because we work with individuals intensely. There's no time limit on how long we work with that individual. So some of our clients we've had for like a year, some are 3 months, some are like 2 years and stuff like that. And it's intense support within the community. Things like getting their benefits sorted, getting them picked up from prison. The first 48 hours is obviously crucial when something comes out for prison. And just what John said, it's like Maslow's hierarchy needs: food, water, shelter, the basic needs for an individual. Through them working with the police, then do kind of background checks on the person if they have any more warrants, so try and get them to hand themselves in, get the warrants dealt with, so it's not hanging over them. Encourage them to attend things like community service and meet different workers who are in their life. And my job as recovery coordinator is to link them into recovery throughout Glasgow and share my own experience with these individuals. So I'll share and build a relationship with them, maybe do some work on triggers and stuff like that, and then we'll link them in. They go to the recovery initiatives throughout Glasgow, and they see people maybe that they've been in prison with. They see people working in employment. They see people looking good, shiny hair, shiny eyes, and it gives them that bit of hope. Through us doing that, you're hoping over time that the penny drops and the seed is planted. And we have had numerous individuals come back a year and a half later and thank us for the work that we've done at that time, you know. So basically for me, the Positive Outcomes is working with individuals, intense support, because I know for myself and my own experience, when I went to some services, it was 1 day a week and it was for an hour. I needed structure, I needed routine and stuff like that, and that's what we'll provide the individuals. So I hope that kind of answers a wee bit of your question.
Yeah. That's great. John, is there anything you want to add about the Positive Outcome Project from your perspective?
Well, we're actually the custody peer mentors, myself and another colleague, and we're Pop Plus. So we're based in Govan Police Station, and we've got access to go into the police cells. We can go into Govan. At the moment, we're Govan, London Road, Caircap, and we started in January. It's been a little difficult with the pandemic, but we get access into the cells, so we're catching people straight away before they go through the court or back out into the street, and whether they've maybe relinked them back into support, signposting them into other services, or if they've not got any support, then whatever, it could be addiction, alcohol, homelessness, suicide ideations, whatever the issue, and they need a wee bit of support. We can also follow it up with a bit of outreach back into the community.
Great. Good stuff. All right, listen, we've got a question here from Elizabeth Wright on Twitter. This is for you, Stephen. You've been alarmingly quiet this session. I want to get you involved. Elizabeth Wright on Twitter says, Stephen, any pushback from sheriffs or general public around this being soft on crime as an alternative to the type of work that we usually associate with community sentences? So yeah, what's your take on that? That's a common one.
It's a really good question, and you're right, Adam. It's one that gets asked a bit. Certainly in our experience, we've not had any kickback from sheriffs or the public about these types of programmes, and I suppose what we're trying to do is get away from this idea of hard versus soft justice, and ultimately it's trying to identify what's going to support people to stay out of trouble moving forward. And certainly a lot of the evidence suggests that these types of programmes, these types of activities do that, because they take a strengths-based approach. They let people see that they've got other qualities and skills that they can build on and develop, and that they can try and break that cycle maybe of offending. As Lorraine and John touched on there, a lot of the people we work with are kind of going through that revolving door of prison, offending, and back in the community. And you're trying to break that by developing skills and ensuring that people's needs are met through the various supports and services that are out there. So, no, I have to say we haven't had any kickback from the wider public or sheriffs. I think partly because people can see the benefits of it, and what we're trying to do.
I think that's something that we've experienced as well, is that because we've actually made a couple of films now, and we made a film for Glasgow Justice a couple of years ago called Something to Lose that Mark McNichol wrote, actually, and we interviewed the then Justice Centre, Humza Yusuf, about that, and really looked at what soft and hard justice is, and the idea that we can simply lock up every offender is just it's a sledgehammer to break a nut, and this kind of work is just as hard. I think there's people that think you should be out there picking up litter, but we like to kind of refer to some of this work as picking up the litter of the mind, and it requires something. It asks something of the participants. Liam has demonstrated that perfectly, that it was tough at the beginning, it was hard, and it asked something of him that was difficult to manifest at the beginning. It might be a bit easier now, but it still required something of him. And all of the participants. I think nobody really sails into it. It's a challenge, but like all challenges, they usually carry a reward. I suppose I could refer that question to Lorraine or John as well, and the kind of work that you guys do. Lorraine, if we could start with you. Do you get any kind of pushback out in the public? Do people say to you, the whole peer mentoring thing, and just they should be locked up? Do you get any kind of pushback like that, or is it more
nothing like that at all? It's mostly supportive. I believe that prison serves a purpose for people committing serious crimes, but other individuals for petty crimes, and that should be about rehabilitating these people back in the community and into society. A lot of these people have trauma in childhood and stuff like that, and then get into the addiction field, and through that then get into prison. For me, my personal experience was prison didn't work. I was locked in a cell. I ate. I went to a gym. I didn't learn nothing. I didn't do any work on the trauma and why I was offending and why I was using substances in the first place. I didn't learn nothing. I was took from society and put into prison, and then the problem was took from prison and put back into society, and that's why there was no change. If this was available when I came around, I'd have definitely been up for this. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for individuals. As I said, if just for one person believing in you, to grow in confidence, self-esteem, self-belief. Because if you look at me, I thought I was a worthless piece of shit, to be honest with you, sorry for the language. But through people believing in me, and rather than throw her in prison and kind of throw away the key, for shoplifting to feed an addiction issue and stuff like that, when it was all to do with my trauma in my childhood, how it kind of started. So definitely not. I believe that there should be more of this. I'm not saying prison doesn't work for LTPs, for people committing serious offences and stuff like that, but for your 3 months, 6 months, 9 months and stuff like that, if it was done to me, I'd scrap the lot and get lots of these projects up on the go and start reinforming individuals.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lorraine. John, is there anything you want to say about that? Have you experienced that, or is that?
I agree with what Lorraine was saying there. You know, I'm kind of old enough to remember a time when they used to, for petty criminals, sharp shock. And you would go into YOs and they would march people right through their sentence, you know, really strict. And people came out really fit, but still with all the same issues, you know, even more probably traumatised. And then initiated into more crime. So I think, you know, petty crime, it's like with mentoring, it's to guide people that there's still a place. There is a place, even though you've got all that at the back here, there's a place in the community for you, you know, it's guiding people to that.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Danny Glover on YouTube. It can't be Danny Glover. Is this Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover? I'm glad he's tuned in. I can imagine him and Mel Gibson sitting there, you know, watching this in LA. But Danny Glover, spelt DANI, on YouTube, he just wants to chime in on the reception of soft justice. I'm conducting an evaluation on this, and in my opinion, there is strong evidence. There is a strong evidence base. If the public has a negative perception of projects of this type, then that's something to be addressed or contended with. But the evidence base, as far as he can see it, is there to support this type of work. I think we're all on the same page with that one. I've got a comment.
Can I just say, Danny,
yes.
I think is a girl, and I think she's based at the Positive Outcomes. She's doing a lot of research just now for Glasgow City Council and at the project. So I think it's a female.
I apologise, Danny, for associating you with the Hollywood star, Danny Glover. I'm sure I'm not the first. But we've got a quick comment here from Tony via email. I attended a StreetCones unpaid work module, not in Glasgow. Is the Positive Outcomes project just in Glasgow? Why not across Scotland? Would have been a big help for me. I understand Glasgow has the biggest local authority, but it's not fair them getting all the best projects. Tony, I mean, we were working across Scotland, and we're not as far at the moment. I think we're as far up as Aberdeen still, but we want to be doing these kind of projects all over Scotland. But StreetCones are, you know, we don't have any core funding at the moment. So, but our plan one day we will be Scotland wide with these kind of projects, and if we had our way, everyone would have the opportunity to take part. But so is Positive Positive Outcomes? Is it just Glasgow based, or is it elsewhere? Or
no, it's just Glasgow based. As you said, it's due to funding and stuff like that. You know, I would love to have it over Scotland. There's other similar projects, like Edinburgh has the VOW project and stuff like that. So there are similar projects throughout Scotland, but there's only one Positive Outcomes, and sorry, we have it in Glasgow.
Yeah, but no, I feel your discontent with that, Tony. We want to be out there, and we want to be running these kind of projects as far and as wide as we can. Linda Core on Twitter. What is a social return on investment? I saw it on the Positive Outcome Project website. I've never heard that phrase before. John, maybe, as you want to come in on that, or Lorraine, social return on investment, or maybe
Yeah,
even.
so basically what it is, by the time you pay an offender to go to court for offending, they see a judge, they go to prison, the money that's spent by the taxpayers and stuff like that, by them coming to us, it's like £8 for every pound spent. So you're saving hundreds and hundreds of pounds if they're going to projects like ours and working with ourselves. So that's just kind of that.
Yeah.
Also, a little sort of statistic was the last place I worked in to look after somebody. It was so many hundreds of pounds a week, and it worked out roughly it was the same to send them to prison. But for looking after them in the community where they've got all the different opportunities, you know, so it was certainly more cost effective, you know, for the person and the community. It's the same money.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's quite well known that this path and approach is a lot more cost effective than custodial sentences. Well, look, we've got being just corrected from the back office here that to clarify, StreetCones, we have delivered the Road to Change workshops to 12 these Road to Change 12-week programs to 13 local authorities across Scotland, which is half of Scotland. So 50% ain't bad, but we would love it to be 100%. I got a comment here from Sylvia Adair on Facebook. I think this is an amazing approach. This model will it still be used post-COVID? I suppose the person we can direct this one to is Stephen, and I know, Stephen, you can only speak on behalf of Glasgow, but is there a feeling that this kind of model is viable after, when people aren't locked down? What's your feeling about that?
I think the easy answer is yes. And now whether that it continues to be a model where people meet up virtually using Teams, or we resume more face-to-face programs like this, I think is one that's up for discussion. I think some of the feedback we've had recently is that some people prefer it online because it's a bit easier to attend. You don't need to travel across the city to a venue and everything that entails. Others feel that the online bit, you kind of miss some of that kind of social contact with other people, and they would rather be in and amongst it. So potentially moving forward, we've spoken about kind of hybrid models of delivery where some people will attend in person and others can tune in via Teams or Zoom or whatever the case may be. What I would say is that there's an ongoing evaluation of not just the StreetCones online group works, but we have a number of other similar programs running just now in Glasgow. So Strathclyde University are doing an evaluation of all of these just to see what the learning is from it, and what the outcomes have been, and what we can take kind of moving forward and planning for a world that's post-COVID, whatever that's going to look like. So certainly the initial feedback we're getting is it's very positive outcomes, and you'll have heard some of that today directly from the horse's mouth. But certainly we would like to keep these going, because we think it provides an invaluable tool that we've got to try and engage people in a kind of strengths-based approach, like I say. So yeah, that would be the plan. Like everything else, it will be down to funding and finding the money and trying to prioritise things. But certainly, I would like to keep them going if possible.
Yeah, I think that would be with all of the face-to-face work that we've done in the past, a hybrid model, because there's clear benefits that have come from the online version. People may be feeling slightly more confident, and they'll give something a go from the comfort of their own house that they might not have ventured out to. So I would say there's evidence there for a hybrid, for the benefits of a hybrid model where we could do some online and some in person. So who knows? Fingers crossed we can pull that off. Well, listen, I think we've come to a very natural end to what has been a brilliant live stream. I just want to thank everybody who took part, the participants who started with that blank page 12 weeks ago and put this project together and came up with Broken Windows, the title, and took part in making it come alive. Thanks to the panelists for their insights and for just being so honest with us, for Stephen, Lorraine, John, and our participant Liam. And thanks to the people out there watching right now, and to anyone who ends up watching it on catch up, which is a large part of our audience watching this in their own time. So please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and switch on your updates. Also check out the other projects on our YouTube channel or on the StreetCones website. On the Roadworks tab, you'll find lots of our previous films, lots of our previous live streams, and podcasts coming out soon as well. The links for our social media are all on our website for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So please stay in touch with us at streetcones.org. Thank you all for taking part, and we will see you at the next live stream. Thank you and goodbye.
1, 2.